Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine, but let's start this video from the situation update in Syria, because it evolves dramatically there day by day and not in Assad, so not in Putin's favor either. So yesterday it was reported that Hama city was taken by pro-Turkish rebel forces. Moreover, they continue their movement towards one of the biggest cities in Syria, Homs. While I'm recording this video, the fight is ongoing in the city outskirts. Russia tries to use their aviation base, Imminent, to attack the rebel forces, but it is not stopping rebels, so there is the high chance for Homs to fall in the coming days. Also, the president of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, said that the goal of the pro-Turkish rebel forces is to take this city and advance towards Damascus. And definitely if we check out this map, so this is Homs and this is the capital city of Syria, Damascus. Well, you may say that the distance from Homs to Damascus is kind of long, and yes, I agree with you, but at the same time this distance is even shorter than rebels covered from Aleppo to reach Homs. And they did it for around 1 week, maybe just a little more. And also they had lots of the settlements, and settlements are actually good for resistance, but this area is mostly deserted place. So I guess that there is the possibility for rebels to advance even with a higher pace in this distance. Well, one more big thing, let's zoom into the place. If rebels capture the Homs city, it will be easy for them to cut this entire place from the Damascus supplies. And here we have the tourist port of the Russian Navy, plus the big air base Imminent of the Russian Air Force. Let's zoom into Tartus at first, so it is also a city, and here we have the port. Yes, it's kind of big, but Russia already removed their ships from this port, I mean military ships, because rebels may use the rocket artillery systems Smerch and Uragan to target the Russian ships. If we go to the north from Tartus, you'll see the Russian military air base, and we have also the fresh images. So on Google you have the old image, but here is the fresh one with lots of the Russian military jets. So here you can see them parked on the apron. Those are the Russian Sukhoi-24 tactical bombers. Here is Sukhoi-24 fighter bomber, some of the fighters in this place, and here are Sukhoi-25 attack airplanes. That's what they used to demolish Syrian cities and settlements and also rebel forces sometimes. It's interesting photo here because it filmed this airplane. This is the Sukhoi-24 tactical bomber, and the shot was taken while this bomber was stopping on the runway. And on the right from this airplane you see Illusion 18. It could be a surveillance airplane and also transport airplane. Here you can see the Russian helicopter, but the main parking spot for the Russian helicopters is this one. So they still have some of the K-52 attack helicopters based in Imminent, and they were in use today. So Russia is using their attack helicopters not just in Ukrainian front lines but also in Syria. And what is here? Maybe rocket artillery systems in Campaniers? Well, overall the runway here is very long, and here you also may see Illusion 76 airplanes parked on the main taxiway, which also may play the role of the runway. It was the runway before actually, but was blocked by those airplanes. So the main runway is 3-5 left. It is also the main military hub for the Russian Federation to send their forces to Africa, like Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso. So potentially Russia may use this very crucial hub for their armed forces, so in a way they will lose their military influence in the Middle East and Africa. It is not just profitable for Turkey, which now expands its influence via the rebel forces, but also very good for France because it's the main competitor with Russia in the military influence of African region. Well, the main issue for the rebel forces is now to cross those mountains to go to Tartus or to Imminent air base. Let's go to the 3D map. Here I'll put it like that. So the mountains here are quite high, as you may see. And there are just few roads like we see over here, which may lead to the top, and that is how you may cross the mountain range. But still, this road is very, very twisty, and it will be impossible to maneuver there with long trailers, for example with tanks. So the only way to go there is to use light armored vehicles or no armored vehicles. Also, Assad army together with Russians may ambush rebel convoys on their way, because it's very easy to organize those kind of ambushments establishments in the mountainous environment. So in a way, this geographic mountains wall really protects the Russian Imminent air base and also the Russian Navy base. As you know, rebels are already controlling this plateau, but they need to cross the mountains for the further advancement. But if they advance to Homs, if they take this city under control, there will be just a small gap for them to cover to cut this entire region, and it will fall after all into the rebels' hands even without them crossing those mountains. You see, Russia cannot sustain this region on their own. Russians still need the Syrian militants and Syrian forces to operate those military bases. And with just a couple of the cities left, it will be hard from the economical point of view to maintain this part of the land under their control for a long time. But relatively this time could be long, so maybe for the rebel forces it will be more profitable to continue their way towards Damascus, where they have more chances to get rid of Assad. Because of that, the Homs city is very decisive, it's crucial. It gives two opportunities for the rebel armed forces to cut this region and to continue the way to Damascus, which they may achieve simultaneously. Yesterday, Tucker Carlson published the video of the interview of Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister of the Russian Federation. They've touched many of the topics. Lavrov didn't dig into the history, the bullshit history which Putin spelled the last time. I'm gonna refer to this interview many times throughout this video, my friends, because it is very important to know the position of the Russian Federation around Ukraine and also around Syria. So there was the question asked about Syria. By the way, the question was direct from Tucker, but Lavrov avoided it. Lavrov didn't condemn the actions of Turkey, which escalated really the situation in Syria, because those rebels are pro-Turkish, really backed by Turkey, because we know that they've been supplied by some of the weapons to perform their current actions. At the same time, Lavrov said that he hopes that there will be the diplomatic way to resolve the current situation in Syria. He said about a possible meeting in Doha with Turkish and Russian sides presented. But as we know, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Turkish president, thinks the other way. He wants rebels to advance to Damascus and to get rid of the Syrian regime. Here, Russia obviously loses Syria and their influence, not just in Middle East, but in Africa. What is also interesting that Russia cannot hold it any longer. They cannot resolve this puzzle. They see how the Assad regime is just fading away, not just because of the rebels, but because of the situation in the economy of the country, or humanitarian situation altogether. Because of that, local resistance start to rise. By the way, guys, if you want to support the job that I do on YouTube, you might also do it on Patreon. The link for my Patreon page I'll put just in the video description below. Thank you so much for supporting my motivation. This is the very south of Syria, not far away from the Israeli border. As you see, there are many of the local resistance groups. They are uprising. Syrian army tries to hit them hard, also involving the Russian Air Force, but it doesn't work. And as it is reported right now, there is the breakthrough of the national Syrian army, which is backed by the United States of America, towards Palmyra. Palmyra is the historical city, the pearl of Syria, and the control under it was established by the Syrian Assad regime only with the help of the Russian armed forces. They bombed this city a lot as well. But now it can fall into the other hands. The Syrian Defense Forces, Kurds, which are also backed up by the United States of America, went on their own attack in Deir ez-Zor province and established control over some of the settlements. They crossed the Euphrates River, which was the previous border between them and the Assad regime. And probably now they are trying to gather their forces for the defense of the capital city, Damascus. This Russian helicopter K-52 was filmed today in Syria, as well as the Russian Mi-8 transport helicopter. Later on, the K-52 helicopter was spotted firing some of the missiles, but it is not that effective even compared to artillery. Well, yesterday and today, the Russian aviation tried to hit the viaduct, basically the road across this valley, which is connecting Hama and Homs. They've used some of the aviation bombs for that, but their strikes were not successful. Like, they've damaged this road, really, but were not able to destroy it. This is some sort of the guy showing the damage done, and it looks like the big hole, really. But the vehicle still might cross this passage, so even if Russia destroys this viaduct right now, like in the coming hours, it is already too late because rebel forces advanced with their major forces and they're very close to Homs. So Russia lost the critical time where they might have used their aviation to kaput this connection. And those are not just my words, the Russian military Z bloggers are saying about the same stuff, that aviation of the Russian army hasn't been used yet in a proper way. On this video, we may see how Russia evacuates the S-300 system from Homs area to Latakia because they don't want to lose it in the future battle for Homs. Meanwhile, rebels captured the Syrian airbase of Hama with some of the MiG-21 fighter jets placed there. From what I see, this particular fighter jet is in a good shape. Yeah, you may see that the painting is not good, but it's not that important. The important thing that it has the aviation bombs attached, so 100% it was used by the Syrian army. And with some type rating even on DCS simulator, rebels may fly this airplane. And it is not just one there, no, there were many of the MiG-21s. Like even on a Google image on one of the parking stands, you may spot many of the MiG-21s, plus there are lots of the hangars. Some experts say that there were around 20-25 of those airplanes stationed in Hama city. As I expected, there are more MiG-21s based at that particular airport, and some of them quite airworthy. I already heard that people were saying that MiG-21 is the old airplane, it's not flying, but this is the exact Syrian airplane filmed during the flight. By the way, I've took this video from the Russian channel. Alright, according to the most recent update, the south of Syria looks kind of dramatic for the Assad regime. Basically, everything starts to collapse from Assad from the north, from the south, from the east. I also think that Israel could start potentially the military operation into Syria. At least I heard that they gathered their forces in the region because, you know, they don't want to be the neighbors of the Islamist movement, which is taking the ground from the north. And just for that, maybe they will create some of the buffer area. It could be a scenario like that. And I just hope that there will be no complete chaos, that the Bashar al-Assad regime collapses. It is almost imminent that Assad's regime will fall. So we'll see the development of it in the coming days, I guess. But as I said, the situation changes in a matter of hours, not even by days. The Wall Street Journal writes that both Egyptian and Jordanian officials have urged Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to leave the country and establish government in exile. What's interesting that his wife and children left Damascus for Moscow the last week. Well, probably together with Bashar, but Bashar decided to return to Damascus. Assad urged Turkey to intervene and halt the rebel offensive. It hasn't worked already, they are going towards Damascus. So Assad asked for the support from Russia, from UAE, Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, but all of those proposals have been rejected. And according to the recent information, Russia also refused to support Assad with more weapons because they are very busy in Ukraine. So if we look in general the picture for Russia after they've started the full-scale war in Ukraine, there were mostly losses for Moscow. Yes, they've captured some of the Ukrainian territories, temporary, but at the same time they've lost hundreds of thousands of their soldiers, army men, basically, and civilians who were converted to fight for Putin. Two of the countries which were mostly neutral towards Russia, especially Finland, joined the NATO military alliance, expanding the border between NATO and Russia in this area. The Russian economy is being cracked by the sanctions and now in stagflation. And Russia will lose its influence in Syria. I guess it's already imminent. And also without their military bases, they're unable to supply their forces in Africa. Well, also there are some of the protests in Georgia where Russia applied their soft power but may lose it at any moment. And everything of that just because Putin decided to occupy the neighboring country, Ukraine. He thought that it could be the easy walk for his army back in 2022, but now it's the long-term game. Yeah, for Ukraine it's hard to resist, but with each day coming, Russia is losing more and more. Each more day of the Ukrainian defense is one more nail into the coffin of the Putin's regime. Russian economy, I'm sure that Russia will finally be defeated, collapsed. Exactly like it happened with the Soviet Union, and we already see some of the marks stating that definitely Russia is not that powerful as it like to think. Yes, we went away already from the Syrian topic. Now let's speak about this interview. I want to comment it. Well, not everything that Lavrov said. He, in most of the cases, tried to avoid the direct questions. Yes, even from Tucker Carlson, Lavrov sometimes said the absolute bullshit, but the main outcome of the interview you may find out at the very end of it, where Lavrov basically confirmed that Russia is bluffing with its nuclear weaponry. Let me explain. Well, the idea of Tucker Carlson was to spread the fear among the United States society. Fear of the imminent war between United States and Russia if United States crazy Biden's administration will continue to support Ukraine. He even named this video. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov describes the war with the United States and how to end it. But in fact, Lavrov in this interview said that there is no war between the United States and Russia, but on Tucker Carlson's opinion, it is. And at the very end, Lavrov said that they'll try to avoid any sort of the nuclear escalation with all of the main 5 countries which have the nuclear weapons. It is a no-go scenario for Russia, he said. He also stated that even to speak about the possible limited nuclear strikes exchanged between those countries is the way to disaster. So the idea of the Russian foreign minister throughout this interview that calm down, okay, we're not gonna use nukes. He said nearly to that, answering the main question which Tucker Carlson presented here. And you know, before this interview, Tucker Carlson claimed that there is no communication between United States and Russia about the possible nuclear escalation. He said that there is no back channel from the Biden's administration or whatever, but Lavrov in his interview said that it's basically a bullshit. He mentioned the special channels which do exist between the United States and Russia, I guess intelligence services, so they definitely exchanged lots of the information, but at the same time Lavrov complained that they got some of the threats from the United States side for them to leave Ukrainian territory. I guess it's logical. So the goal of the interview, which Tucker Carlson wanted to present, failed completely. There were no any escalation words from Lavrov said towards the United States of America. Towards Ukraine, yes, as usual, but this time towards the United States, no. Maybe because they expect a new White House administration and they don't want to shout out loud about the direct threats towards the United States. They want some sort of the agreement on Ukraine, but on their own terms. And that question Lavrov answered, I would say, directly. So he was asked by Carlson what are the terms of the Russia to negotiate over Ukraine. And Lavrov just repeated the usual rhetorics which we heard from the Russian side again and again. They need to occupy full Kherson, full Zaporizhia, Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts. As Lavrov said, the regions which they put into their constitution without even occupying them fully. It's like a historical nonsense. It has never been like that before, that one side in the middle of war announces the occupation of the territories where the forces are absent. And they also want to demilitarize Ukraine and for Ukraine to stop being anti-Russia. Well, Russia done everything for Ukraine to be anti-Russia as well as Ukrainian people. So I guess it's already very late for them. Russia did what it did. But you know, after all, Russia is not here to occupy those territories. The regions which were mostly destroyed by the war and require lots of the investments, so weakening the Russian economy. Russia wants to occupy all of the Ukraine. That's why they're fighting now also in the Kharkiv region. Why is even Russia presented in Kharkiv region? Because they didn't include this region. There was no fake referendum for that, but still they advanced, for example, in Kupiansk direction. So after that interview with Lavrov, it is understandable for me that Russia doesn't want to drop the demands for Ukraine to get rid of its territory in favor of Russia. It will never happen, but Russia wants it to happen. That is why they will not stop at least the next year. I already told you about the record military budget of the Russian army, 145 billion United States dollars. If Putin plans that huge budget, it means that he is willing to continue. And according to rumors, Russia may strike in Zaporizhia region. Also, they are quite active now in Khybersky-Kharsar region. They concentrate lots of the forces. Why? For them it will be kind of hard and almost impossible to take Kherson back under control. And in Donbass, Russia advances every day. So is there some sort of the magical solution for the negotiations between Ukraine and Russia? Well, maybe there is, but only in a pink pony's wonderland. The negotiations with Putin are not possible, because he wants to get more. He always wants more. Russia again launched their airstrike today on Kryvyi Rih and Zaporizhia. There are several of the life losses in both of those settlements. Guess what can I say? If we want this world to be a safe place for everyone, we need to punish those who commit the war crimes. In this case, it is the entire Russian regime. They commit war crimes not just in Ukraine, but also in Syria. And also they spread their terror into Africa. Because of the Russian actions, there are many of the refugees who would have stayed in their countries, but now they flee elsewhere, in Europe, in the United States. So by doing those war crimes, Putin also wants to destabilize the Western countries. The thing that our democracies should show that they are strong, they do not afraid of Putin. Otherwise, Putin will continue to escalate. Right guys, now to the military map update from Ukrainian front lines. Yes, Russia goes quite fast. I think that their goal right now is to encircle Ukrainian group in this area. So there is this small pocket over here of Ukrainian army which still keeps control over those three settlements. But Russia wants to create the terrible situation for Ukrainian army from both of the sides. However, I don't think that it is possible in the coming days. Because first of all, there is the river and Russia has already reached it. To cross it, they need to put the Panton Bridge, which is quite difficult to do because the Russian forces have been struck by the FPV drones all the time. This is what happens on the front line. Some of the Russian vehicles on attack, but after everything they've been kaputted by the drones, and there are some images that I'm unable to show you on YouTube. That's why I shared those on my Telegram channel, which you may check out in the video description right below. Just a brief explanation: the infantry vehicle was full of infantry, and yes, there were lots of the drones, which finished the job increasing the Russian losses statistics. In the Kursk region, Russia also has tremendous losses. They're losing tanks, infantry, BMPs, everything. For now, Ukraine stabilized the front lines in Kursk. However, Russia is still capable to get the ground with their constant mid waves. They already went to Shevchenko village, which is not that far away from Pokrovsk, and they tried to hit the supply roads for Ukrainian army. I think that there is the high possibility to see the battle for Pokrovsk in the coming months, because the political decision from Putin is to occupy the settlement till Trump gets into office. And we also have update from the place from the deep state military map. So it was yesterday, it is today. Russia moved towards Uspenivka, so Ukraine will withdraw the forces in the coming days from this pocket. It is understandable. This gap is exactly 1 mile, so Ukraine should withdraw the forces, otherwise they will be encircled. And also we have the confirmation from this place that Russians went definitely towards Shevchenko, and they continue to expand this bridgehead. But the good news that for a while Russians stopped in Velika Novosilka because there was the successful Ukrainian counterattack. For the first time, the Ukrainian drone cruise missiles were presented. The name of this drone missile is Hell. It has the jet engine, wings and empennage to control the direction of the drone missile. Lots of the removed before flight stripes here. While the missile looks very similar to Fal-1, the first made cruise missile in the world by Germany. As you can see, it also had the wings, the empennage and the jet engine on the top, which I guess will be easy to maintain in Ukrainian's case. The range of the Ukrainian cruise missile drone is roughly 700 kilometers, so potentially Moscow is also within the range. But it is much smaller compared to Fal-1 missile. I guess that the maximum payload is not more than 30, maximum 50 kilograms, which is in a way comparable to the Russian Shahed drone. But the main question is whether Ukraine is capable to produce those kind of the cruise cruise drone missiles massively. That's the main concern. A Ukrainian HIMARS was spotted. Wait a minute, this vehicle is kind of strange. Actually, it's a decoy, fully functioning decoy, well, except the fire module. This vehicle is based on Gaz-66 Soviet-made truck. The idea is to simulate the HIMARS rocket artillery system, and I guess that the module is very detailed, especially if it moves, so drone operator will not find the difference. Meanwhile, Putin and Lukashenko signed the documents for extra security guarantees, probably for Belarus and also for Russia. Lukashenko asked Putin to deliver the Oreshnik missiles to Belarus. Putin agreed on that. While Oreshnik is the middle-range ballistic missile, it may hit any point in Europe, even from Moscow, so there is no strategic sense to send those to Belarus. Just two crazy dictators found a new toy. Some good news came from Romania. The Romanian Constitutional Court cancelled the election result of the first round of the presidential elections, where Georgescu, the open pro-Russian candidate, got the majority of the votes. So there should have been the second round on 8th of December, but now everything of that being cancelled, there will be the new election started in Romania in the future, nearby future. The court decided to do it because there was the direct influence of Russia on Romanian elections. The Russian propaganda and bloggers and pro-Russian bloggers are now very mad about the case. They thought that they introduced some of the puppet regime in the ally towards the Ukrainian country, but now there is a big question whether they will be able to do it. My friends, I'm gonna keep you updated on the situation in Ukraine, and not only. For now, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.